In IELTS Speaking Part 2, one of the biggest fears that the candidates have is not actually getting a difficult topic. It is, what if I run out of ideas after 30 seconds? So in this video, I'm going to teach you how to use the 1 minute that they give you to prepare effectively in order to be able to cover any part 2 topic, and I will also teach you some linkers and time sequencers that are absolutely useful and necessary for this part. So stay tuned and watch this video till the end. IELTS Speaking Part 2. In the second part of IELTS Speaking, they will give you a booklet on which you will find a topic. You will have 1 minute to read the topic, prepare and take notes. They will give you a pencil and a piece of paper, and then you will have around 2 minutes to talk about whatever you have prepared. As I told you, you have the 1 minute to prepare and make notes, and then you have 1 to 2 minutes to speak continuously. If you're aiming for a band score higher than 7, you need to speak for the full 2 minutes. You cannot stop earlier. Actually, this is not recommended to stop whenever you think that you are out of ideas. Try to continue, try to look for ideas, try to speak until the examiner says thank you. And then when you finish with the topic, they might ask you 1 or 2 follow-up questions for these things. For these questions, you will need to give them a short, brief answer, not too long, just as long as the answers you give to your part 1 questions. The examiner may stop you when the time is up. It doesn't matter if you're mid-sentence. It doesn't matter if you have other things to tell them. That just means time is up, and it's definitely normal. Use the 1 minute to choose and organize, not to write. So you need to think strategically. It's not the time for you to write everything that comes to your mind. It's the time to first understand the topic, read the topic and the bullet points to see, to make sure that you understand everything that they ask of you, and then choose a usable real example. You know that in IELTS you can definitely lie. I highly recommend that you choose an example that's real, and then you try to be creative with the details and everything. Do not talk about something that's like entirely wrong, because then you might struggle with ideas later. And then number 3, note. Write down keywords, not sentences. Do not write grammar, because it's impossible to write grammar. Write ideas, the things you want to say, and then later on, if you come across, if you remember any collocations, idioms that you specifically like to use when you speak, write them down too. Order. Add a beginning to your story, a middle, and an ending. So at the beginning of the story, I'm going to start like this, start with the background, and then add details in the middle, and then try to wrap the whole thing up. Your notes are your safety net. They are not your script. So it doesn't matter if you write something and you do not talk about it. It doesn't matter if you say something that you have not written, because the notes are for you. They're a help for you. They're not going to check it. They're going to put it later on in the trash can. So it's not a script. Write it down. It gives you confidence. You come back to them when you need to, obviously, but the important thing is that you are fluent and you are confident in what you're saying. And that's all. So in order to organize almost any cue card, any topic in IELTS Speaking Part 2, you can make these 5 moves, and they can be adaptable and usable for every type of, let's say, topic. Take a look over here, open. So name what you want to talk about. I am going to talk about, you have asked me to talk about, the topic about which I want to talk is, start the topic like that, and then give it a background, set the context. The third move is the journey. Tell what happened, add more details to it. In the fourth move, explain, describe, and then finally reflect, say why it matters. This is a thinking route. This is not a memorize introduction, so you don't have to, let's say, add up everything. They don't have to like move in the same order, but I'm just telling you this so that you have a map in your brain and you know what type of things you can talk about in this second part. In this part, time sequencers can be very, very helpful. Here I brought about some sequencers that could be very nice to use in part 2. They're super useful. If you use 5 of them, you have got like a very good variety. Of course, you can add to this list. You can start with to begin with in order to start your story. At the time, to set your context. Shortly afterwards, to say what happens next. After that, to continue the story. Eventually, to cover the outcome. Looking back, to reflect. Most of the ones that I brought about here can be safely used at the beginning of the sentences, but obviously you can use some of them in the middle or at the end as well. Linkers. Linkers can have different functions. Here I brought about 6 of them. In order to add what you're saying, you can say, another thing worth mentioning is, in order to bring about contrast, you can say, although it was tiring, I decided to do it anyway. As a result, at the beginning of the sentence, obviously. To explain, you can say, the main reason was that. In order to bring about examples, you can obviously use for example, for instance, by way of example. In order to focus on something, you can say, what I remember most is, this structure here is called cleft sentences, and cleft sentences are very useful in IELTS speaking and writing, and I'll make another video in order to explain how to make them. You probably already know them, but maybe you're not aware of how to use them effectively, so this is something that we will cover also later on. Most cue cards belong to 5 broad families. Number 1, person. It is one of the most common topics that they might ask you to describe a person that you like very much, a famous person that you admire, a person that helps you in a difficult situation. So it is worth studying some vocabulary items that would help you describe a person, both in terms of personality and appearance. So you have to be able to talk about relationships, character, influence, things like that. Number 2, they might ask you to describe a place that you saw and really like the architecture, things like that. They might so here you should be able to talk about location, atmosphere, and memory. For example, a restaurant that you went to and you enjoyed the food very much, or the opposite. Mostly in IELTS speaking part 2, they ask you to talk about positive experiences. So it's rare that they ask you to talk about a restaurant that you went to and you hated the food. So it's mostly a place that you went and you enjoyed your time there. And number 3 is object. They might ask you to describe a thing. For example, describe an item that you bought recently. You should talk about, for example, what it is, how you used it, whether you're happy with your purchase or not. You need to talk about the origin, where it comes from, where you bought it, the use, why you use it for, what you use it for, why is it important in your life. For example, you might talk about a vacuum cleaner that you just bought. You can talk about where you bought it, and then how you use it, how often you use it, is it useful for you or not, and then the importance would be whether you think that it improves your daily life in a way, does it save your time, and things like that. Number 4, experience. So they might ask you to talk about experiences. In this part, actually, time sequencers would be very useful to you because you're talking about sequencing. So this is what happened first, this is what happened in the middle, and then you need to end the story. You can talk about the challenges that you've had. Mostly it comes with like traveling, seeing places, doing something, studying something, work experiences. And then you talk about feelings, how you felt when you were experiencing that specific thing. And the last one is activity. You need to talk about how it is done, why it is done, and progress. For example, talk about a new thing that you're trying to learn, talk about a type of sport that you have recently taken up, things like that. With very famous topics, I would just try to think about one thing and learn how to explain it completely. For example, when it comes to sport, I personally like to talk about badminton, and I know every single vocabulary related to the sport of badminton. For example, if you want to talk about horseback riding, you do not need to know what we call the ball in badminton, which is like a shuttlecock, right? So choose one thing and learn everything about it. So here we finally have a sample cue card. Describe a place you visited and would like to visit again. You should say where the place is, when you went there, what you did there, why you would like to return. So just be careful about something, that the bullet points here are just here to help you. So you don't have to spend equal timing explaining each single one of them. You could actually give more details to one bullet point and even like not talk about another. For instance, if you're talking about an invention and they say who invented it and you don't remember, it's not a tragedy. You can just skip it. It's definitely fine. The important thing is that you stay on the topic and you speak about it for 2 minutes. I would like to open with my main topic, which is Puglia, and then I'm gonna write southern Italy. And of course, if you have like some acronyms in order to save time, for example, instead of Italy, you can just write IT and then a full stop, because at the end of the day, you look at it and you remember. Do not make a lot of acronyms, because at the end, if you don't remember what they are, they can be a little bit misleading or they could stress you out. The background is that I would like to explain that it was a summer trip. I imagined it for years and I went with my friend. Of course, when I'm talking, I'm going to add a lot of more details. And then talking about the journey, I would like to talk about the towns that I visited, the coast, the food, the sunset and everything. The details, I would like to talk about the, let's say, structure, the architecture, the wide streets, the sea, and the fact that the lifestyle is much slower than Rome. And then to reflect on this topic, I would like to say that this is not the end of my story. So this is how I would like to organize, and using all these 5 steps, you can be sure that you are not going to speak for less than 2 minutes. You will be speaking the whole time. It's okay if the examiner stops you at the detail time and you do not have like time for your reflection. It's definitely fine. It's actually a good sign, because it means that you can speak for longer than 2 minutes. You're fluent, you have ideas, and your English allows you to have a monologue. So it's important to know that a coherent answer moves forward and then reflects. Here I have some model answer structures. For example, if you want to open, you can say, I'd like to talk about Puglia. Basically, it's very easy. It's fine if you start all your part 2 answers like that, because at the end of the day, when you're taking the exam, you're just going to talk about one topic. So it's not repetitive. In order to set the background, you could use, first of all, you could use past perfect as a tense, because it gives your tenses a little bit of variety. Also, when you're bringing the background, you're talking about the past, you give the details, and then you reflect in the present. So for the background, you can say, I had seen pictures for years, and then I was dreaming about seeing that place myself, but it was difficult for me to go there since I don't have a car, and things like that. For the journey, you can basically say to begin with, later on, next, after that. And for the details, you can go with what stayed with me the most was the structure of the houses, the wide streets, the atmosphere, the amazing food. And then in order to reflect, well, looking back, I'd return because blah, blah, blah. So in order to extend your answers naturally, you have 4 different moves. Number 1, zoom in. Describe one moment, a person, a feature. So if you do not have a lot of things to say about the topic, describe, let's say, when you went to a restaurant and you were enjoying your time there. Describe a person that was specifically kind to you on your trip, for example, a feature, something like that. Zoom out, add context. For example, talk about why you did not visit that place earlier. Comparisons or changes, compare it to your hometown, things like that. Use the senses. What did you see? What did you hear? How did you feel? Things like that. Add time. What happened before? What happened after? What happened next? These are some of the moves that you could use in order to extend your answers when you feel like you have said everything that you wanted to say, but you still have like more time. Do not repeat what you said, add to it. For example, about the person, you talk about how you met this person, you bring about examples of their character, and you say how this person influenced you. If you're talking about an object, you can talk about where this object comes from, how you use it, and what it means to you. If you're talking about an activity, you start with how you started, your routine, the challenges that you have, and finally your progress. If you're talking about your experience, bring the context, sequence the things, what happened first, what happens next, what happens last, and then the result of it, or if you have learned a lesson from this experience. Well, these are some of the things that you need to avoid when you're performing an IELTS speaking part 2, because these things make your 2 minutes much harder than it is supposed to be. First of all, do not write sentences when you're preparing. You have only 1 minute. It's a very short time. If you write sentences, you will lose your preparation time. Do not force linkers. Do not memorize things to say, because if they are not natural, they will look rehearsed, and that's not a very good thing because it's not fluent enough. Searching for a perfect story, you will waste your time if you're looking for something that's perfect, that's sort of unreal. Just stop preparing about the first thing that comes to your mind, and then I promise you it will work out, because as long as you're using good vocabulary and good grammar and you're fluent enough and you're pronouncing things correctly, I promise you it does not matter what you're talking about. Answer the bullets separately. Do not be like, okay, where I was, and then start answering it. Do not read from the bullet points, just speak naturally, because it's not you answering questions, it's you talking about a topic continuously, all right? Do not talk in fragmented style. Next one is stopping after 1 minute. Please continue talking until the examiner says thank you, because sometimes you might think that you've been speaking for long, but in actual fact it has been around like 45 seconds, which is not enough time. You will lose points. Continue talking until they say thank you. Use one of the 4 strategies that I told you: zoom in, zoom out, add context, things like that. Do not memorize answers. I mean, have some prepared context in your mind. If you want to talk about sports, for example, as I told you, you can talk about badminton, you know everything about it, but please do not memorize answers for all the topics. Be ready to adapt, be ready to change, and it will help you a lot if you have ideas. But at the end of the day, you need to be able to speak about a variety of topics. All right, now it is the practice time. Practice with different topic families. Person, describe someone who taught you something useful. Object, describe something you own that is important to you. Experience, describe a journey you remember well. Activity, describe a skill you would like to improve. Take 1 minute to plan and take 2 minutes to talk about it, and record yourself. Try to figure out if you have any problems, if there is a vocabulary item or collocation that you really like to use in your speaking but you didn't know. So have a research, find it, and try to use it when you do it for the second time, obviously. So, if you're gonna have a recap of everything that we covered, it should be plan less, develop more, keep moving. Choose a usable example, write 5 keyword anchors, follow your answer route, use linkers by function, and finish with reflection. This structure that I just gave you supports your ideas. It should never replace them. If you have anything else to add or to say, if you want to choose the audit, please go on, do that. In the next video, I will start covering part 3, and I will tell you how to develop your opinions and bring about examples there. So do not forget to like this video, drop me a comment, and I will be happy to see you again here. So if you don't want to miss the other videos from this playlist, do not forget to subscribe to my channel. Love you. Have a nice day.